there's times, when football takes a back burner, and we felt like this was one of those moments as an organization. Wanted our players to know that, we support them, want them to have a day to be with their families, reflect on things, be around friends, be around each other, and then use the day to help make that change they want to see, whether it's on social media, using the platform they have, or if it's going to register to vote or trying to get other people set up to register to vote. We just wanted them to know this is their day. And I felt like it was important to our organization. I know Michael felt strongly the same way.
Kliff, you're talking about this being their day. Does that mean that there's been determination of what happens going forward, what you're going to be doing Friday? Are the players still talking about that stuff? Do you know that yet?
Friday is still scheduled as is.
Hey, Kliff, what was the meeting like this morning? What was the tone like, mood? And then are you guys planning any sort of group voting registration, anything like that?
Michael's had a program that he's been working on for the voter registration, and the mood was somber. We had VJ actually speak and did a tremendous job talking with those guys, and we have a tremendous locker room, and I'll keep what was said private, but we felt it was important to have that time together.
Let's go next with Bob McManaman, Kevin Zimmerman, Catherine Fitzgerald.
Kliff, what was the schedule supposed to be like today? Was it just a walkthrough and meetings? It was
a walkthrough, get ready for tomorrow and meetings, and so that would have been the gist of it.
Hey, Kliff, just wondering, do you know if players are sticking around and kind of meeting and talking about non-football things right now around the facility?
I do not.
Hey, Kliff, just whose idea did kind of this all start with today? Was it something you were thinking about yesterday as you saw all the events unfold? And what were your thoughts yesterday when you saw the NBA, MLS, and MLB all cancel or boycott games yesterday?
Yeah, I think as an organization, we discussed, with Michael and Steve and BJ and a lot of people, just what the right thing to do was for us, and this is the decision we came to. What happened to Jacob Blake was horrendous, and it has to stop. And I know it sounds hollow at times because you hear the same things over and over, but we wanted to make sure our players knew that we support them, and we're here for them in any way we can be.
Next we've got Howard Balzer, Catherine Fitzgerald, Doug Haller.
Along the lines of that decision, Kliff, did any players voice suggestions about doing something like that, or when you met today, was the decision already made to?
The decision was made, but I'm sure there had been conversations. We have a tremendous locker room, guys that take a lot of pride on social responsibility and the way they carry themselves, and the example with which they set, as a lot of you have known covering these guys. And so there have definitely been conversations within the locker room.
Kliff, I know there are so many conversations about players using their voices and what they can do, but with the conversation too about either team owners, coaches, people in higher positions of power, what are you seeing as your role now? What is Michael Bidwell saying as far as like what he can do to make more changes here?
Yeah, I think as players and coaches, we have a tremendous platform, and that can help keep the spotlight, on the fact that as a country, we have issues when it comes to social injustice and racism, and that we have a problem here. And people pay attention when Doc Rivers speaks. He's a guy that I know I admire and look up to in this profession. And the other night, when he put it, it was so powerful and so eloquent. We talk about it as a team. The people are talking about that, and we have that ability to touch lives and lead by example. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. We all need to push together in the same direction, and try and help the change that we want to see.
Kliff, there wasn't long ago where at this time of year, a football team tried to limit distractions as best they could. Obviously, that's no longer possible with what's going on in the world. You guys are pretty much rewriting this playbook. Just how challenging is that to deal with what's going on in the country and in the outside world, and also, keep the focus on what's going on inside the stadium or the locker room?
It's about perspective, and we want to make sure our players understand that we do have that. And like I said earlier, at times football takes a back burner to those things, and we want to make sure that at the end of the day they know we support them and their safety and their right to voice their opinion over all else. And I think our players understand that.
Looks like we'll wrap up with Josh Weinfuss and Catherine Fitzgerald with the final two.
Hey, Kliff, what's been the most challenging part of this for you personally?
Yeah, I just think, coming to work and being around a bunch of guys that you actually look up to, their stories and the way they carry themselves, the amount of success they've had on and off the field, and the type of people we have in our locker room. I look up to those guys. I mean, the Chandler Jones, the Larry Fitzgerald, the Pat Peterson, Hop, the way they have had all this incredible success and all this wealth and all this fame, and they still treat people the right way. They still do things right all the time. Those are guys that I look up to. I admire them to see how this, affects them, and it's so tough and hard on those guys each and every day, and it hasn't changed. There's not a lot of words that I can say, and you wish you could, but you just, like I said, I keep going back to it. You want to make sure they know that you care about them and support them above all else.
Kliff, I know we've talked today and even going back to May and June about conversations you've had with players and how just been trying to listen and learn about their experiences. But I was curious if there's anything else that's been particularly eye-opening for you as far as learning more about everything happening, either like books, movies, anything like that, that's supplemented everything you've learned from players' real experiences.
Yeah, I think, on that topic, we've had some conversations, about all of what's going on in the country. And, I had a great conversation with my dad over the summer, and his perspective on things is really valuable as we get closer to the season and, the anthem discussions and things of that nature. My dad was a long-time football coach, but also a Marine, served in Vietnam, received a Purple Heart. And talking to him, there's two words that really stood out. And one was respect, and the second thing was understanding. I think respect the viewpoints people have on this topic, and that they're very personal and very passionate, and then respect their right to express themselves. I think you got to understand at its core what this is really about, and it's always been about drawing attention to the social injustice, and that continues to take place. We saw it again this week with Jacob Blake. It's about increasing awareness that racism exists. Police brutality against people of color continues to happen, and let's not forget that, or confuse it with something else, or make the narrative different. I think my biggest takeaway from talking to my dad was kneeling doesn't reflect a lack of patriotism or respect for the military in any way. Just like standing during the anthem doesn't mean you're okay with racism or social injustice, and it's important to respect and understand that. These are important issues that need to be addressed, and important conversations that need to be had, and I'm grateful that I've been able to be around, like I said, a great group of guys that have enlightened me, hearing their stories and their struggles, and so those conversations will continue throughout the year, and I just hope we can all continue to push in the right direction.